And it just, I mean, they screwed with me though. You guys can imagine, but that was the real education I got getting in. Well, I like how you just finally got all the truth out there, except you lied a little bit. It's more than 80. I don't think there's a little trivia fact here. I don't think I ever held a TNA title. How about that? An NWA title. We can kind of
That was your old damn company, Jeff. You couldn't talk
What
to
are
the
you doing not
management about
booking
getting your
yourself
own
on
title.
top?
No, we quit using the NWA, but that really coincided when we finally got Kurt on board. I completely stepped out of that title picture, but we're going to have fun here today. I appreciate you guys having me on. We're going to talk some wrestling, RASSLIN, right, Jerry?
My favorite kind, man. My favorite kind. And speaking of wrestling, let's take it just a quick memory lane. Let's take a quick jump back to when Double J was a little K. What do they call?
He was just a
Lowercase
J
Double
then.
J.
He was just a J then. Wasn't Double J.
It was just a J there. Now, well, yeah, it was Jeff Jarrett. That's two J, John. So it's still a J. They were lower, but they were lowercase J. So let's go back. I got one question. We won't go back into all the way back to your high school days, but let's just go. You started at refereeing, I think, at 18, but my question is, when did you realize, Jeff, that my old man, he's something special, man, here in Tennessee?
God almighty. Well, we're going to have to go back really to my childhood. I lived about 10 minutes from the Nashville Sports Arena in South Nashville when I lived with my mom and my dad. Obviously, parents divorced at a very young age, but I would get to see him on weekends. And obviously, he traveled a lot and a little more in the summers, but he was working a program with the Blonde Bombers, managed by, as we know, Nightmare Danny Davis, but old Wayne Ferris and Larry Latham, which is a whole nother story. I got to work with Larry years later, but
Wayne Ferris being AKA Honky Tonk Man.
There you go. But one Saturday night, a guy that worked for Bobby Monroe, anyway, picked myself up, and my buddy, and we were going to get to go to the matches. And my grandmother, Christine, she was so excited. Oh, my grandson's here and all this kind of stuff. And I didn't want to talk to nobody. I wanted to watch wrestling. And look, I can tell this story now because I'm about half smart to the business, but at that time wasn't smart at all. But they set me and my buddy on the last row of ringside seats. And so, of course, as you guys can relate, what do Larry and Wayne do? My dad is the seller of the team with him and Tojo. They take my dad outside the ring and they beat the shit out of him, and they work literally right beside us.
Of course they did.
Yes, right in front of us. Danny Davis with the riding crop. Gotta lay that in. He wore him out. I mean, and I was sweating and nervous. And look, I'm 11, 12. I get emotional. My grandmother comes over and all this kind of stuff. Well, what do you think happens? They roll him in the ring. He gives Tojo the hot tag. Tojo comes in and does this. As they get it going, he tags my dad back in, and my dad gets to make a comeback. And that was when I was like, son of a bitch. But I was hooked at I've got 4 siblings. I'm the only one that made a career out of this. I loved it really from the first matches. My first earliest memories were watching on Channel 2 TV in Nashville. It came in on Saturday nights at 10:30, and at Dennis Condrey, Bobby Eaton, Phil Hickerson. There's George Goulas, my dad, Fargo. I loved it. I really loved it from the first time I ever watched it. I really did.
Wow. Wow. So there, you're young. You get that up close example there of what our business is about. When did you start figuring out this is a work? I mean,
oh God,
did your dad ever come to you and say, Jeff, watch this, we're working out there?
You guys will, this is another one. I've told this to Conrad. Conrad really ate it up. But in the summers, again, going out with my dad and spending time with him, and he had an office downstairs, and the bedroom that I stayed in during the summers was right off of that. Well, what is probably a 14, 15-year-old kid. Now, this is 81, 82, 83. The territory is like all the territories around are just booming. But the old yellow legal pad. I see one sheet, a date and the full card. And then the next week, a stipulation with another card and a next date. Now, wait a minute. How does he know that these guys are the champions this show and the challenger the next?
I love it.
When, just trying to. And so that was kind of one of my first kind of, I guess you could say, real aha moments. Again, being the son of a promoter, Wednesdays was check day. Guys would come by the house, pick up checks. Sometimes my dad would be on the phone and he'd say, come here, the old, as we joked just a second ago, the rotary phone with the long cords. My dad would be pacing in the house. He'd be doing that cord one way and that way. And then he'd say, hold on a second. Then he'd holler for me downstairs. I'd come upstairs and he'd count out this envelope, check. Now take this out there. And I didn't know who I was going to see. Walk out the door and, there'd be guys and sometimes I didn't even know who they were. Just coming in and out of the territory. Then other guys, I'm like, now wait a minute, that was Dundee and Dutch, and now wait a minute,
they're wrestling each other.
Cars Bulba is now wait a minute, just moments that they're riding together or came by to get the checks together or any of that kind of stuff. So little bits and pieces. He even the following summer when guys would come by and there for a while in his house, they did a lot of the bicycle. They did the 60-second promos that would go inserted into the show, and they would have heels and baby faces in the same room. And he'd just tell me to leave. Hey, get lost. Oh, okay. They're going to be doing some stuff in there, just so little bits and pieces. So it wasn't really till the summer going into my junior year of high school when he was going to let me, because I was pulling the rings, and toward the end of the summer he said, hey man, I'm going to let you referee and all this. And that's when he remember Frank Morrell? I don't know if you guys remember.
I love Frank Angel. Frank
Morrell. We rode, and later he was my riding partner. We rode for 7 years about every day.
And what a great guy to ride with. I mean, information, knowledge, is smart, great teacher.
But my dad called him over, and that was the first match over at a little spot show in Arkansas. Mosquitoes everywhere, but my dad was real serious. And hey, don't worry, son. Frank's going to take care of you, and just like a real calming. You don't have to do much. Frank's going to tell you actually when to count the three, and he's going to say, "Okay, it's all this." Well, okay, so I've got my game face on, and I'm John. It's sports, Jerry. It's sports. Okay, I'm about to go out there. We got a real game. I mean, I wasn't in the ring 30 seconds. Frank, he's sitting there, he's got the mask so he could talk a little bit. Hey man, your zipper's undone. Oh. Yeah. I mean, he ribbed me the entire time. Like, hey man, give me your left hand. And I'm like, I said you're right. It just, I mean, they screwed with me the whole, you guys can imagine. But that was the real education I got getting in.